Hi, I'm Russ Russell and we're here at Parlour Studios today. We're going to talk a little bit about the fantastic new board we have and a few of the other toys and a few techniques of mixing and recording. Yeah, I got into recording very early on, from about the age of 7 or 8. My father always had microphones and tape machines in the house, so used to record our little family get-togethers and my own radio show. And I had an acoustic guitar that my auntie gave me, and it was unplayable. The action on it was so horrific, but I used to tune it up and play it with pens and pencils and record that. And yeah, just kind of expanded from there, really. And then at the age of about 13, 14, I started playing in bands, and nobody else could work any of the equipment, and it was all left to me. And we had a 4-track that we used to demo our stuff on, and everybody straight away, oh, Russ will have to do it. He's the only one who understands any of this stuff. And then other local bands started asking me, oh, can you do some demos for us? And it just sort of expanded from there, really. My real love and passion for music comes from my mother, I think. You know, she provided me with a lot of music when I was young, a lot of different music, rock music, pop music. My father was more into classical music. And then the punk thing happened, and I was only like 7 years old when punk really hit England big time. And I wanted to buy the Sex Pistols album, and the guy in the shop wouldn't sell it to me. You're too young, I can't sell you that. And I went home and told my mum, and she said, come with me. She took me back to the shop. She said, I want Never Mind the Bollocks by the Sex Pistols for this young man, and in future you sell him anything he wants. And yeah, so I would save up my pocket money and buy vinyl, rock music, pop music, punk music. I loved it all, really. I mean, to me, good music is good music, and it's the same in my work. I do all kinds of stuff, you know, acoustic stuff, electronic stuff, and I find it really useful to use my knowledge of different areas of music in projects that maybe wouldn't usually have that kind of influence. You know, you can take a lot from metal and use it in other genres of music, the techniques and the production values, and you add something a little bit different. I mean, I think doing this job, I mean, the lines have become a bit blurred now, as you know, engineering and producing. They kind of rolled into one thing now. It used to be very specific, two separate jobs, but you know, but in either aspect, I think it's very important to listen to music, even if it's not your personal preference. I think it's very useful for any engineer or producer to be familiar with every kind of music and take something from it. But trying to understand, I mean, I guess this is maybe more producer than engineer, but trying to understand people's vision, what they're trying to achieve, and they might not necessarily understand the best way to get to their goal. But to me, as a producer, I don't want to stomp all over people's work. I don't want to go in and go, right, I'm the producer, this is how it's going to be. I tend to start very gently on a project, try and spend a little bit of time sussing out what people actually want and where they want to end up, and then make a plan of how we're going to arrive there. To get the most out of a musician and out of an album, out of any session in here, you have to wear two hats, the engineer hat and the producer hat. And it's tricky balancing it sometimes. I'll spend a certain amount of time try and plan it out so that while they're getting their stuff together and while they're getting ready to record a song, I'll be doing the technical stuff quick, get it out of the way, get it done. And then, right, come on, let's absorb ourselves in the song. Let's work through this. Is the structure right? Is the tempo right? tempo is massively important. Mapping out tempo tracks and click tracks for drummers, vital. Get it right now from the start, and then the rest of it will be easy. There's really no fixed plan with recording and producing. Every project is completely different. Every decision is based on the decision before, and it's just built up one choice at a time. And it's the pile of a million decisions that make it. I think if you have too much of a rigid plan and a rigid pathway of techniques and equipment, if you're blinkered, you're going to miss something great that's going on over here. A lot of modern metal production is perhaps a little bit clean and clinical for my taste. I do go there when it's necessary. I do try and keep a bit of dirt in there, a bit of something human in there. I don't quantize drums. I edit everything manually by eye and ear. I find it really, I love editing drums, making the performance how it should be, how the guy wanted it to be. And if we'd have had 7 weeks of time, it probably would have been. Drum triggers, it is almost a given that with most metal now, you're going to end up doing some kind of enhancement. But if I'm recording and mixing, what you're hearing is probably 60-70% real drum kit. And I tend to use samples more as an EQ. I really want to pile some top end crack on that snare drum, but I can't do it on the real one because the hi-hats will go crazy. So I'll use the sample just to add EQ. And quite often, they're samples of the guy's own kit. I still try, when mixing drums, start with the overheads and see how much total sound I can get out of them. And quite often, it'll end up with not actually that much. But I always look there first. Maybe the toms sound really good in the overheads, so let's not filter too much of that out. I always use most of the time use a head mic over the top of the head. And you smash that hard with 1176, and sometimes that can be, a good percentage of your whole drum sound right there. I'll quite often start a mix with just the first thing that comes to my attention, the thing that's the most wrong, the thing that needs the most attention is quite often the first thing that will be looked at. If I'm mixing somebody else's stuff and I'm not familiar with every part and every track, then I'll literally just throw up all the faders and just sit back and play it through a couple of times and then start working on a game plan. But there's never a fixed method. But sometimes people are just looking at me going, what are you doing? You went from Tom 1 to Tom 2 to the backing vocals, and then went to one guitar, and then the lead. It's just skipping all over the place. It's just something caught my ear, and that needs doing now because that's what's in my head now. It's not necessarily the best use of time, but it works for me. Well, having the Audient, for me, as far as recording goes, I don't think I could do it without a board. The speed of working like that is vital for me. Favourite things on the Audient, being able to split the EQ. You got your mids and then you got top and bottom, and you can split those to either mic input or your return, your monitor path. So, you can have a little bit of top and bottom on the kick on the return, but not commit it. But then at the same time, I can scoop out the mid that I definitely don't ever want in it, and that's committed to the recording, which is brilliant. I absolutely love that feature. And like I say, having that facility to carve out anything you don't want and then add your little bit of sparkle or boom to something, and decide, do you want to print it or do you just want it on the returns? Fabulous. Audient mic pre's, I mean, what can I say about them? They give me what the source sounds like. If I've spent a long time getting my source how I want it, then surely most of the time I want it to arrive like that here. And that's what the mic pre's do for me. They tell it like it is. It's all really useful stuff. 2 headphone sends straight on the desk. Saves me a ton of time and adds a lot of creativity, which I think for me would be lost without it.